Most people believe success is something you chase. They think it lives somewhere in the future, waiting behind the right opportunity, the right connection, or the right moment. But what if success isn't hiding ahead of you at all? What if it's quietly forming right now, inside the habits you repeat every single day, often without noticing? Every morning, long before results appear, habits are already shaping outcomes. Not in dramatic ways, but in subtle, almost invisible patterns. The way you start your day, the thoughts you allow to settle in your mind, the small decisions you make when no one is watching. These are not neutral actions. They are votes you cast daily for the person you are becoming. Many people fail not because they lack talent, intelligence, or opportunity, but because their habits are misaligned with their goals. They want growth, yet repeat behaviors that reinforce stagnation. They desire clarity, yet tolerate mental clutter. They seek discipline, yet negotiate with their comfort every time it whispers. And slowly, without realizing it, their habits lead them somewhere they never consciously chose. There is a powerful truth often overlooked. Success does not respond to wishes, motivation, or inspiration alone. It responds to order, to structure, to consistent alignment between intention and action. When habits are scattered, results are scattered. When habits are intentional, life begins to organize itself in surprising ways. This is not about perfection. It is about direction. It is about understanding that your habits are not just routines. They are instructions you give to your future. And once you recognize that, something changes. You stop asking why success feels distant and start noticing where your daily behaviors are quietly taking you. What if the real turning point isn't a massive breakthrough, but a simple decision to reorganize the way you live, think, and act, starting today? Before we go further, consider this. The habits you repeat tomorrow are already being chosen today. If you're watching this from your phone or your TV, comment below where you're watching from and subscribe to the channel for more content like this that helps you build clarity, discipline, and purpose. The first step toward meaningful achievement is not effort, it is awareness. Most people live on autopilot, repeating the same patterns while expecting different results. They rarely pause to examine the structure of their daily lives. Yet every habit, no matter how small, carries direction. It is either reinforcing who you want to become or strengthening the very patterns holding you back. When habits are left unexamined, they quietly take control. They decide how you respond to challenges, how you manage time, and how you treat opportunities. Over time, they shape your self-image, and once a person's self-image is formed, behavior follows it almost automatically. This is why change feels so difficult for so many. It's not the habit alone they're fighting, but the identity attached to it. Here is where many people misunderstand discipline. They think discipline is about force, punishment, or extreme effort. In reality, discipline is alignment. It is the ability to organize your habits so they support your goals instead of competing with them. When habits are aligned, progress feels lighter, clearer, and more sustainable. But there is something even deeper at play. Something most people never realize until it quietly limits their entire potential. Because before habits can be reorganized, something else must be confronted first, and that realization changes everything. That deeper element is belief, not the kind you speak out loud, but the kind you live by without questioning. Habits grow from belief the same way branches grow from a trunk. You can trim the branches over and over, but if the root belief remains unchanged, the same patterns will always return. This is why many people try to fix their habits and fail. They never address the silent assumptions guiding their behavior. A person who unconsciously believes they are inconsistent will create habits that confirm inconsistency. Someone who sees themselves as undisciplined will unknowingly design routines that collapse under pressure. The mind always seeks coherence between belief and behavior. It will resist habits that threaten its current self-image, even if those habits lead to growth. This is where real organization begins, not with schedules or productivity tools, but with an internal decision about who you are becoming. When that decision is clear, habits stop feeling like obligations and start feeling like expressions of identity. You no longer force yourself to act differently. You begin acting in alignment with a clearer self-concept. There is a powerful principle at work here. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits, but only when those habits match your internal expectations. Change the expectation, and habits begin to reorganize themselves almost naturally. However, this process requires honesty. You must be willing to observe your daily routines without judgment, without excuses, and without self-deception. What do your habits say about what you truly believe is possible for you? Not what you hope for, but what you expect. Many people are surprised by the answer, and once that awareness settles in, a new challenge appears, because awareness alone does not create change. It creates responsibility. Responsibility is the moment you realize that every habit you tolerate is a choice, and every choice is shaping a future version of you that you will eventually have to live with. This realization can feel uncomfortable. It removes the comfort of blaming circumstances, timing cardias or other people, but it also unlocks something far more powerful: control. Not control over outcomes, but control over direction. Direction is everything. Day life without direction is not chaotic because it lacks effort. It is chaotic because effort is scattered. Habits pull energy in different directions, creating internal conflict. You want progress, but your routines protect familiarity. You want growth, but your habits defend comfort. This inner contradiction drains motivation faster than failure ever could. Organizing your habits is the act of resolving that conflict. It means deciding which behaviors deserve your energy and which ones quietly sabotage your focus. It means simplifying your routines so that fewer decisions compete for your attention. When habits are organized, mental noise decreases, clarity increases, and with clarity comes momentum. Momentum does not arrive dramatically, it builds quietly. One aligned habit reinforces another. Confidence grows, not from success itself, but from consistency. You begin to trust yourself again, not because results are perfect, but because your actions are dependable. This trust changes how you approach challenges. Instead of reacting emotionally, you respond deliberately. Instead of quitting when motivation fades, you rely on structure. Instead of waiting to feel ready, you act because your habits are already in place to support you, and that is when progress stops feeling fragile. But there is another layer most people overlook. Even with aligned beliefs and organized routines, many still struggle to sustain growth. They start strong, see improvement, and then slowly drift back to old patterns. Why? Because habits do not exist in isolation. They live within an environment, both internal and external. Your surroundings, your inputs, and even the conversations you engage in daily either reinforce your habits or weaken them. Willpower alone cannot compete with an environment designed for distraction. This is why reorganizing habits without addressing environment often leads to burnout. Your mind absorbs what it is consistently exposed to. Thoughts become tendencies. Tendencies become actions. Actions become habits. If you are constantly surrounded by urgency, noise, and comparison, your habits will reflect that chaos. If your environment encourages focus, order, and intention, discipline becomes less demanding. This is not about isolation. It is about selection. What you allow into your mind each day matters more than what you try to force out. When inputs change, outputs follow. This principle applies to information, conversations, media, and even the pace at which you live. Slowing down your inputs often accelerates your progress. And yet, here is the paradox. Many people resist changing their environment because it feels like giving something up. Familiar distractions feel comforting. Old routines feel safe. Even unproductive habits offer a sense of certainty. Letting go of them feels like stepping into the unknown, but growth has always required a certain willingness to become unfamiliar with yourself. The moment you outgrow old habits, you temporarily lose the comfort of knowing exactly who you are. This is where many people retreat, not because they cannot grow, but because growth disrupts identity before it stabilizes it. If you can stay present through that discomfort, something remarkable happens. Your habits begin to stabilize at a higher level. What once required effort becomes natural. What once felt difficult becomes normal. and the life you imagined as future success starts to feel like a natural extension of who you are. But this raises an important question, one that determines whether this transformation lasts or fades over time. Because organizing habits is not just about starting well, it's about sustaining alignment when motivation disappears. And that is where the next principle becomes essential. Sustaining alignment requires something far more reliable than motivation: purpose. Motivation rises and falls with emotion, energy, and circumstances. Purpose, however, operates quietly beneath the surface. It does not shout, it anchors. When habits are connected to a clear sense of purpose, they no longer depend on how you feel in the moment. Many people struggle with consistency because their habits are disconnected from meaning. They adopt routines because they sound productive, impressive, or socially approved, but not because those routines serve something deeply personal. When pressure arrives, meaningless habits are the first to collapse. Purpose simplifies decision-making. When you know why a habit exists, resistance loses its power. You stop debating whether to act and start honoring a commitment that feels larger than temporary discomfort. This is not about grand ambitions. It is about clarity. A habit tied to purpose feels necessary, not negotiable. Purpose also reshapes time. People who lack purpose constantly feel rushed, yet accomplish little. People with purpose move deliberately, even slowly, and still progress. Their habits are not reactions to urgency, they are expressions of intention. But purpose alone is not enough. Here is where many people make a subtle mistake. They confuse purpose with pressure. They turn meaningful goals into heavy burdens, attaching their self-worth to performance. When habits become emotionally loaded, failure feels personal, and consistency becomes fragile. True purpose does not punish, it guides. This is why sustainable habits must be built with compassion, not aggression. Self-discipline is most powerful when it is calm. When habits are fueled by self-respect rather than self-criticism, they endure setbacks without collapsing. Consistency grows when habits are realistic, flexible, and forgiving. Missing a day does not define failure. Abandoning the system does. Progress is not linear, but alignment must be continuous. Another overlooked principle emerges here. Habits should reduce friction, not increase it. If a routine feels heavy every time you approach it, it is either poorly designed or disconnected from your current capacity. Discipline thrives in simplicity. Small, repeatable actions performed consistently outperform intense efforts sustained briefly. This principle explains why many people burn out. They attempt to force transformation instead of allowing it to compound. Compounding is quiet. It does not announce itself. But over time, it creates results that appear sudden to those who are not paying attention. And this is where patience becomes a strategic advantage. Most people abandon habits not because they don't work, but because results arrive slower than expected. They underestimate how long alignment takes to materialize externally. Habits change internal structure first, thinking patterns, emotional responses, self-trust, before visible outcomes appear. Those internal shifts are easy to overlook, yet they are the foundation of everything that follows. If you stay consistent long enough, something subtle changes. Effort decreases, resistance weakens, identity stabilizes. You no longer feel like someone trying to succeed. You begin to feel like someone who simply operates at a higher standard. At that point, success stops feeling distant. But here is the challenge most people never anticipate. As habits improve, expectations rise, standards increase. What once felt like progress becomes the new baseline, and without awareness, this can create a dangerous cycle of dissatisfaction. Growth without reflection leads to restlessness. This is why intentional pauses are essential. Reviewing habits, reassessing direction, and reconnecting with purpose prevents unconscious drift. Organization is not a one-time event. It is an ongoing process of refinement. Refinement requires honesty. Are your habits still serving who you are becoming, or are they simply familiar? Are they aligned with your current values, or anchored to an outdated version of yourself? These questions are uncomfortable, but necessary. Because success is not static. What works at one stage can limit you at another. Habits must evolve as you do, and that evolution introduces a new level of responsibility, one that separates those who experience temporary progress from those who build lasting success. The next principle reveals how to recognize when it's time to elevate your habits and how to do it without losing balance. Elevating your habits requires awareness of growth itself. Many people assume that improvement should always feel empowering, but often it feels destabilizing. When habits begin to outgrow your current environment, routines, or self-image, tension appears. This tension is not a sign that something is wrong. It is evidence that expansion is occurring. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. At this stage, the danger is not failure, but stagnation disguised as comfort. Old habits that once supported progress can quietly become ceilings. They feel safe, familiar, and productive enough, but they no longer challenge you. When this happens, growth slows not because effort disappears, but because intention becomes outdated. The key is learning to recognize subtle signals, boredom with routines, restlessness without clarity, a sense that you are busy but no longer building. These are not signs of laziness. They are signals that your habits need refinement. Refinement does not mean doing more, it means doing better. This is where many people misunderstand advancement. They add complexity instead of depth. More goals, more tasks, more pressure. But elevation is often achieved through subtraction, removing habits that drain energy without delivering alignment. Every habit has a cost: time, attention, emotional energy. If a habit no longer contributes to who you are becoming, its cost outweighs its benefit. Letting go is not regression, it is strategy. However, letting go triggers fear of losing momentum, fear of falling behind, fear of confronting uncertainty. This fear causes many people to cling to routines that feel productive but produce diminishing returns. True organization requires courage, the courage to adjust, to experiment, to redefine what discipline looks like at your current level of growth. And here is the paradox: the more aligned your habits become, the less rigid you need to be. Flexibility increases as clarity deepens. You are no longer dependent on strict control because your internal compass is stronger. This internal compass is built through reflection. Reflection turns experience into insight. Without it, habits repeat without evolving. With it, habits become intelligent, responsive rather than reactive. This is why periods of intentional review are essential. Ask yourself, which habits feel alive? Which feel forced? Which ones create energy? And which quietly drain it? The answers reveal where refinement is needed, but refinement also requires restraint. As habits elevate, ego often follows. Success, even internal success, can create subtle arrogance. The belief that consistency is now guaranteed. That discipline no longer needs protection. This is when regression becomes most likely. Progress creates comfort. Comfort invites carelessness. This is why humility is a discipline. Recognizing that habits must be maintained, not assumed, keeps you grounded. It reminds you that alignment is an ongoing practice, not a permanent achievement. Another principle emerges here. Your habits are influenced not only by what you do, but by what you tolerate. Standards are not defined by intention, but by tolerance. What you allow yourself to repeat becomes normalized. Missed routines, compromised focus, delayed decisions. Each tolerated behavior quietly reshapes your baseline. Raising standards does not require perfection. It requires awareness. You do not need to punish mistakes. You need to notice patterns. Patterns tell the truth faster than excuses ever will. When you respond to patterns instead of isolated failures, change becomes precise. You adjust systems, not emotions. You correct direction, not identity. This approach builds resilience. Resilient habits do not collapse under pressure. They adapt. They absorb disruption without losing direction. They are designed with reality in mind, not ideal conditions. And this brings us to a critical turning point. Because once habits are aligned, refined, and resilient, a new responsibility emerges, one that most people never consider. Your habits begin influencing others. Whether you intend it or not, Consistency becomes visible, discipline becomes contagious, standards become examples. At this stage, habits are no longer personal, they are relational. This realization changes how you carry yourself, but it also introduces a new challenge. How do you maintain internal alignment when external expectations increase? How do you stay grounded when others begin to project their assumptions, demands, or dependence onto your discipline? The answer lies in a principle that protects long-term success, but it requires a shift many are unwilling to make. That principle is revealed next. The principle that protects long-term success is self-governance. When habits become visible, external influence grows. Expectations appear, some supportive, others demanding. Without self-governance, discipline slowly shifts from internal choice to external obligation, and alignment begins to erode. Self-governance is the ability to remain guided by internal standards rather than external pressure. It does not reject feedback or responsibility, but it filters them. It ensures that habits remain rooted in purpose, not approval. Many people lose momentum at this stage because they confuse recognition with direction. They allow praise, comparison, or obligation to dictate their routines. Slowly, habits become performative rather than intentional. The structure remains, but the meaning fades. To prevent this, habits must be protected by boundaries. Boundaries are not walls, they are filters. They decide what deserves your time, energy, and attention. Without boundaries, even well-organized habits become vulnerable to overload. Overload is subtle. It rarely arrives as chaos. It arrives as just one more thing, one more commitment, one more responsibility, one more expectation layered onto an already aligned system. At first, it feels manageable. Over time, it becomes exhausting. Sustainable success requires the ability to say no without guilt. This is not selfishness. It is stewardship. Your habits represent a structure that supports growth. Protecting that structure ensures longevity. Another overlooked truth emerges here. Not every opportunity is aligned, and not every request is reasonable. Discernment is a discipline. Discernment allows you to choose based on direction rather than urgency. It prevents distraction disguised as progress. It keeps habits from being pulled into priorities that are not truly yours. This clarity strengthens confidence. When your habits are governed internally, decisions become simpler. You no longer over-explain, you no longer overcommit. You act from alignment, not obligation. However, self-governance also requires emotional regulation. Strong habits are disrupted not only by external demands, but by internal reactions. Frustration, impatience, doubt. When emotions drive decisions, consistency weakens. This is why emotional awareness is a habit in itself. Learning to pause before reacting preserves alignment. It allows you to respond deliberately rather than impulsively. Over time, this creates stability. Stability reduces stress. Reduced stress increases clarity. Clarity strengthens habits. This cycle is powerful. Yet there is one final challenge that appears at higher levels of consistency. When habits are stable, aligned, refined, and protected, life begins to feel predictable. Progress continues, but intensity fades. For some, this creates peace. For others, it creates restlessness. Restlessness at this stage is dangerous. It tempts people to disrupt stability unnecessarily, to chase intensity instead of depth, to mistake calm for stagnation. True growth does not always feel exciting. Often it feels steady. Learning to respect steady progress is a discipline many never master. This is where wisdom replaces ambition. Wisdom understands that long-term success is built through sustained alignment, not constant acceleration. It values continuity over novelty, and yet, even wisdom requires renewal. Without renewal, habits become mechanical. Structure remains, but presence fades. You perform routines without engagement. Discipline becomes hollow. Renewal does not require reinvention. It requires reconnection. Reconnecting with purpose, values, and intention refreshes alignment. It brings awareness back into action. This is why reflection must return regularly, not to question direction, but to reaffirm it. And when that reaffirmation occurs, something powerful happens. Habits stop feeling like systems you manage and start feeling like expressions of who you are. At that point, success is no longer something you pursue, it is something you sustain. But there is still one essential principle left, one that determines whether this alignment becomes a lifelong foundation or slowly fades over time. And it begins with how you finish what you start. Finishing what you start is not about intensity, it is about integrity. Many people begin with enthusiasm, fueled by clarity and intention, but drift away when novelty fades. Not because they fail, but because they underestimate the quiet discipline required to follow through when nothing feels urgent. Completion strengthens identity. Every time you finish a commitment, especially when motivation is absent, you reinforce trust with yourself. This trust becomes the foundation of confidence, not the loud kind, but the steady certainty that you can rely on your own word. Unfinished habits create mental weight. They linger in the background, draining focus and clarity. Each abandoned routine subtly weakens self-belief, even if progress was made initially. This is why consistency matters more than ambition. A smaller habit completed consistently builds more inner strength than an impressive one abandoned halfway. Integrity in habits means choosing standards you can honor. It means designing routines that fit your real life, not an idealized version of yourself. When habits are realistic, completion becomes natural. When they are exaggerated, failure becomes likely. There is also a deeper lesson here. Finishing builds patience. It teaches you to remain present through repetition, to value depth over excitement, to understand that growth often happens when nothing dramatic is occurring. This patience is rare and powerful. Most people seek change that feels transformative. Few are willing to commit to change that feels ordinary. Yet it is the ordinary, repeated with intention, that creates extraordinary outcomes over time. Another truth emerges. Finishing does not always mean perfection. It means honoring the process, adjusting when necessary, continuing when distracted, returning when interrupted. Progress that survives interruption becomes resilient. Resilience is the quiet strength behind lasting success. It is what allows habits to endure seasons of stress, fatigue, and uncertainty. Without resilience, structure collapses under pressure. Resilient habits are built with flexibility. They allow room for recovery without abandonment. They prioritize continuation over intensity. This mindset transforms setbacks into feedback. Instead of asking, "Why did I fail?" you begin asking, "Well, what needs adjustment?" This shift preserves momentum. Momentum sustained over time creates mastery. Mastery is not dominance, it is familiarity, knowing your rhythms, understanding your limits, working with yourself instead of against yourself. At this stage, habits feel integrated. They no longer require constant management. They operate in the background, supporting focus, clarity, and direction. Life becomes less reactive, but mastery introduces a final responsibility. When habits are mastered, complacency becomes tempting. You assume alignment will maintain itself. Attention drifts. Small compromises reappear. This is why renewal must become cyclical, returning to fundamentals, revisiting purpose, reaffirming standards. These acts prevent slow erosion. Sustainable success is not maintained by force, it is preserved by awareness. And awareness begins with one question asked regularly and honestly: are my habits still serving the life I intend to build? The answer to that question determines whether growth continues or quietly plateaus. In the final chapter, everything comes together, not as theory, but as a guiding principle for living with clarity, discipline, and enduring purpose. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. Living with clarity, discipline, and enduring purpose requires integration. Not adding more habits, more rules, or more pressure, but allowing what you've built to work together as a unified system. When habits are aligned, refined, protected, and sustained, they stop feeling like separate efforts. They become a way of living. At this stage, success is no longer something you chase or measure constantly. It becomes a byproduct of how you think, choose, and act. Your days feel intentional, not rushed. Your actions feel grounded, not reactive. You are no longer pulled in multiple directions because your habits have given your life a clear center. This clarity changes how you face uncertainty. Challenges no longer threaten your identity because your foundation is internal. When circumstances shift, you adjust without losing direction. When progress slows, you persist without panic. Stability replaces urgency. One of the most powerful shifts here is how you relate to time. You stop trying to compress growth into short bursts of effort. You respect seasons. You understand that meaningful achievement unfolds through patience and consistency. This perspective removes pressure and replaces it with confidence. Confidence rooted in alignment is quiet. It does not seek validation. It does not rush to prove itself. It trusts the process because the process is lived daily. Another transformation occurs as well. Comparison fades. When habits are deeply aligned with purpose, other people's paths lose their power over you. You appreciate inspiration without envy. You observe success without self-judgment. Your focus returns to what you control, your choices, your routines, your standards. This is where freedom emerges. Freedom is not the absence of structure, it is the presence of the right structure. When habits support your values, discipline feels like self-respect rather than restriction. You are no longer managing chaos, you are directing energy, and direction creates peace. Peace does not mean a lack of ambition. It means ambition without anxiety. It means moving forward without constantly questioning your worth or your pace. It means knowing that what you do daily is enough to carry you where you intend to go. Yet, even here, awareness must remain active, because the moment habits are taken for granted, drift begins, not dramatically, but quietly. Small compromises, delayed intentions, subtle neglect. This is why self-check-ins matter. Not to criticize but to recalibrate. Recalibration keeps habits alive. Ask yourself regularly, does my daily behavior reflect what matters most to me right now? If not, what needs adjustment? Not overhaul, but adjustment. This question keeps growth honest, and honesty sustains integrity. Integrity in habits is what allows success to endure without burnout. It keeps ambition human. It keeps discipline flexible. It keeps purpose personal. At this point, success no longer feels like an external destination. It feels like internal alignment expressed consistently over time. That is the essence of organized habits. Not control, not rigidity, not perfection, but conscious direction. And here is the final truth. The life you build tomorrow is being rehearsed today, not through major decisions, but through small, repeated choices. When those choices are intentional, success becomes less about chance and more about character. So as you move forward, remember this, not as a rule, but as a guide. Organize your habits, and you organize your future. And the moment you choose to do that, truly, deliberately, consistently, you are no longer preparing for success. You are already living it. The final layer of lasting success is legacy, not in the sense of recognition, but in the quiet influence your way of living leaves behind. When habits are fully integrated, they stop being something you talk about and start becoming something others feel. Your consistency communicates without explanation. Your discipline teaches without instruction. Legacy begins internally. It is the standard you hold when no one is watching. The choices you make when shortcuts are available. The restraint you practice when impulse would be easier. These moments define character more than any visible achievement ever could. Most people underestimate how deeply habits shape character. Repeated actions form instincts. Instincts form responses. Responses define who you become under pressure. When habits are organized, pressure no longer exposes weakness. It reveals strength. At this level, success feels different. It is quieter, steadier, and less dramatic. You are no longer driven by urgency or fear of falling behind. You are guided by alignment. This shift creates emotional freedom. You no longer need constant reassurance that you are on the right path. You recognize it by how grounded you feel while walking it. There is also a deep sense of responsibility that emerges here. not responsibility as burden, but as stewardship. You understand that your habits are shaping more than outcomes. They are shaping the quality of your presence. How you listen, how you respond, how you lead, whether formally or informally. Leadership, at its core, is modeled behavior. People rarely follow advice, they follow examples. When your habits reflect integrity, patience, and consistency, they quietly invite others to examine their own standards. This influence is subtle, but powerful. However, legacy requires humility. The moment you believe you have arrived, growth begins to slow. Humility keeps habits alive, it keeps curiosity open. It reminds you that alignment is not a destination, but a daily choice. This humility also protects you from rigidity. You remain adaptable, you listen, you evolve, you refine. Not because you are dissatisfied, but because growth is part of who you are. And that is the ultimate transformation. Success stops being something you achieve and becomes something you embody. You no longer measure progress only by results, but by coherence. How well your actions match your values. How naturally your habits support your intentions. How consistently you show up as the person you decided to become. When coherence exists, life simplifies. Decisions feel clearer. Priorities feel lighter. Effort feels focused. Even challenges feel meaningful because they are met from a place of stability rather than struggle. This is the quiet power of organized habits. They do not guarantee outcomes, they do not eliminate difficulty, but they create conditions where growth is sustainable, progress is steady, and success is realistic. And perhaps most importantly, they give you peace with your own effort. Knowing that irregardless of circumstances, you are living in alignment with your highest standards. That is a form of success no external validation can replace. So as this journey concludes, remember this: you do not need to change everything at once. You only need to organize what you repeat, because what you repeat becomes who you are, and who you become determines everything that follows. The final chapter is not about adding more structure, but about choosing what you will protect going forward. Once habits are organized, aligned, and integrated, the greatest threat is not failure, it is neglect. Neglect happens quietly. It shows up as postponement, rationalization, and the belief that what has been built will sustain itself without attention. Attention is the currency of alignment. What you consistently pay attention to grows stronger. What you ignore slowly weakens. Habits are no different. They require presence, not pressure. When you remain aware of how you think, how you choose, and how you respond, habits stay alive and relevant. This awareness does not mean constant self-monitoring. It means regular reconnection, a simple moment of reflection, a brief recalibration, an honest check-in with yourself about what matters most right now. The most effective people do not obsess over optimization. They return to fundamentals. They simplify when complexity creeps in. They protect clarity when noise increases. Protection becomes a skill. You protect your habits by guarding your mornings, your focus, and your energy. You protect them by choosing environments that support your standards. You protect them by recognizing early signs of drift and adjusting without self-judgment. This approach keeps growth sustainable. Sustainability is often misunderstood. It is not about doing less. It is about doing what can last. Habits that last shape lives. Habits that impress briefly fade quickly. There is dignity in consistency. When habits are stable, your life gains rhythm, not rigidity, but flow. You move through challenges with steadiness. You respond instead of react. You trust yourself, not because outcomes are guaranteed, but because your behavior is dependable. Dependability builds inner peace. Peace does not remove ambition. It refines it. You still aim high, but you do not rush. You still grow, but you do not panic. You understand that progress is built through alignment repeated over time. At this level, success feels grounded. You are not chasing it, you are cooperating with it. And cooperation requires patience. Patience allows habits to mature. It gives them time to compound. It protects you from abandoning systems too early or changing direction unnecessarily. Most breakthroughs are not sudden, they are recognized late, People often realize they have changed only after others point it out. That is how quiet progress works. It transforms you from the inside first, and that internal transformation is the true reward. Because no matter what circumstances bring, organized habits give you something unshakable: self-respect, the knowledge that you are living intentionally, that you are honoring your standards, that you are moving forward with integrity. That knowledge becomes a compass. When decisions are difficult, you consult it. When uncertainty appears, you trust it. When doubt arises, you return to what you know works: your habits. So as you step forward from here, remember this simple truth. You do not need perfect conditions. You do not need constant motivation. You do not need certainty about the future. You only need to stay aligned with what you choose to repeat. Because when habits are organized, life becomes clearer. When life is clearer, direction strengthens. And when direction is strong, success becomes sustainable. This is not an ending. It is a standard you now know how to keep. The truth that often goes unspoken is this: habits do not change your life all at once, they change how you meet your life. When challenges appear, organized habits give you posture. When uncertainty rises, they give you grounding. When opportunity arrives, they give you readiness. Readiness is what separates intention from impact. Many people wait to feel ready before acting. But readiness is not a feeling. It is a condition created through repetition. When habits are aligned, you respond effectively without hesitation. You do not waste energy deciding who you are in the moment. You already know. This is where confidence becomes embodied. Embodied confidence is not loud. It is steady. It shows up as calm decision-making, clear boundaries, and consistent follow-through. It allows you to move through pressure without becoming reactive. You trust your systems because you built them deliberately. And that trust changes how you experience effort. Effort no longer feels like strain. It feels like engagement. You are present with what you are doing because your habits support focus rather than fragment it. Distraction loses its grip. Procrastination weakens. Clarity strengthens. Clarity simplifies life. When life is simplified, energy returns. You have more capacity for creativity, relationships, and growth. Not because time magically expands, but because attention is no longer scattered. This is one of the greatest rewards of organized habits: reclaimed energy. Energy allows you to show up fully, to listen better, to act more intentionally, to choose progress without pressure. It turns discipline into freedom. Freedom, in this sense, is not doing whatever you want. It is doing what matters most without constant internal conflict. And here is the quiet realization that follows. You were never lacking willpower. You were lacking alignment. Alignment removes friction. When friction is reduced, consistency becomes natural. When consistency is natural, progress compounds. This compounding is subtle but profound. Weeks turn into months, months into years. And one day, you look back and recognize that your life feels different. Not because of one dramatic decision, but because of many small ones honored consistently. This is how success becomes believable. Believable success does not feel fragile. It does not depend on perfect conditions. It adapts, it endures, it evolves. At this point, you stop asking, "Will this work?" You start asking, "How do I refine it?" Refinement keeps you engaged. It keeps habits responsive rather than rigid. It allows growth without burnout, and growth without burnout is the ultimate advantage. Because many people reach moments of progress only to exhaust themselves maintaining it. Organized habits prevent that cycle. They distribute effort wisely. They respect limits. They protect sustainability. Sustainability is not passive. It is intentional pacing. When you pace yourself, you remain present. When you remain present, learning accelerates. When learning accelerates, adaptation becomes effortless. This is how habits stay relevant as life changes. Jobs shift, responsibilities grow, seasons change, but aligned habits adjust with you instead of breaking against you. That adaptability is the mark of maturity. Maturity in success is knowing when to push and when to pause. when to expand and when to consolidate, when to strive and when to stabilize. Organized habits teach you that rhythm, and rhythm is what allows you to continue, not just for a season, but for a lifetime. So if there is one final takeaway to carry forward, let it be this: you do not need to control your future. You only need to remain faithful to your direction. Direction is maintained through habits. Habits are maintained through awareness. Awareness is maintained through intention. And intention, chosen daily, quietly builds a life that makes sense to you. That is success, understood clearly and lived fully. As we bring this journey to a close, it's important to remember that success is not a finish line you cross. It's a way of living you commit to. Everything you've explored here points to one essential truth: your habits are the structure that holds your life together. When that structure is intentional, life gains clarity. When it is neglected, confusion quietly takes its place. You don't need to change everything today. Transformation rarely happens through sudden reinvention. It happens when you decide, calmly and deliberately, to honor small commitments consistently. One aligned habit has the power to restore confidence. A few organized routines can reshape how you think, choose, and respond to life. What matters most is not how impressive your goals appear, but how faithfully your daily actions support them. When habits and values move in the same direction, effort feels meaningful, progress feels honest, and success stops feeling distant or fragile. There will be days when motivation fades, when distractions pull at your focus, and when progress feels invisible. In those moments, return to what you can control. Return to your habits. They are your anchor. They remind you who you are becoming, even when results are slow to appear. Growth is not always loud. Often, it unfolds quietly, beneath the surface, strengthening your character before it ever changes your circumstances. Trust that process, respect it, stay patient with it. As you move forward, let your habits reflect your standards, not your moods. Let them support your direction, not your fear, and let them evolve as you do, never rigid, always intentional. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to reflect. Which habit, if organized today, would create the greatest clarity in your life? That single choice, made consciously and repeated consistently, can change far more than you expect. This is not the end of the journey. It's the moment you begin living it with purpose.